Hello and welcome to Two Girls in a Pod. I'm Sharon.
I'm Christy.
Welcome everyone. Hope that you all had a really great whole week. As always, Christy and I in our little conversations, which, we have many conversations. And, I was thinking the other day, we call this life's journey and everything in between. And I thought, if we're talking about everything in between, we'll never run out of topics to talk about.
There's a lot that happens in between.
Absolutely. But, one of the things, as I was sleeping, it actually came to me, is how do we balance our lives? What I'm talking about is we have so much that goes on. I think what happens is we start to minimize in one area, maximize in another area, and then we kind of feel out of sorts. We don't feel balanced, I guess would be a good word for it.
Yeah, I think that we end up feeling like we're not giving enough in one area or the other. It's like you give so much focus to one area, then you feel like another area is starting to slack. At least that's how it feels for me. And I think that that's why you call it like practice every day, because you're always trying to find balance.
And I think what's interesting is because I think sometimes then what happens is people then go into a place of guilt.
Right.
If they feel like, I'm not putting enough into this or enough into that, then there's going to be some guilt around it. So one of the things I do, and I've done with my clients in the past, is I have them make a pie. And then I have them divide that pie up into how they perceive their time goes. And so it's got 5 parts to it. So it's self-care/health. So that's like eating, drinking, all of those things, exercise, that kind of stuff. And then there's family and friends. Okay. How much time are we devoting to that, to self-care, health, our work, our spirituality, and that can be your religion or spirituality, either one that you want to do. And then the final one is leisure, fun. And so when we look at those particular things, and so I did my pie, and Christy was doing hers, and what did you say?
Well, I started to. I mean, she tells me to draw this pie and kind of chart out where I think how much room each of these things take in the pie. And I told her, I said, I have a really hard time with that. I feel like it was really hard for me to try and draw that out because I am not really aware of how much time I guess I spend on one thing versus another thing. And until you actually sit down and look at it and try to picture that, it's really difficult when you sit down to do it, or at least it was for me. Because I also asked you too, I said, is it based on how I feel it is now or what I want it to be? And that's what you said, to look at it based on what it looks like now.
Because if you look at what it's based on now, then you can sit there and say, holy crap, I didn't realize so much of my time was going to this. If I sit there and look at, how much time is this going to this, because you want the pie to look pretty. Not super similar, but, because for me, my family and friends takes a much bigger part of the pie. And particularly now that we have the dog, I should have just made it half of my pie because she takes a lot of time.
Well, I think that's one of the things, too, is that people think that it should maybe equal out more, but it's not necessarily going to, because there's some things that are going to have priority that you want to take more of the space.
Yes, but I think what it is oftentimes when people do this, they'll find that they'll find that a huge chunk of that pie is work. And then they're wondering, why am I always tired? Why am I always this or that? Do you see what I mean? Or it could be that they're wondering, oh my God, why don't I have any money?
Right.
Well, they're spending all of it on leisure and not understanding that, once again, there's a balance within that.
Right.
Is how do you plan those things and set it up to where it's a much more effective for the person? So one of the things is we're going to ask all of you listeners to draw out your pies, how you perceive your life is right now using self-care, health, family/friends, work, spiritual, leisure/fun. So those 5 things, draw out your pie. And then we would really love your feedback on our Facebook page of, did it help you? What did your pie look like? Those kind of things. Because it's interesting. And then from that, once again, you can see the parts that are going to be important for you to maybe look at and say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't know I was doing this. Because I don't think we have a conscious awareness. And I think that's what it is, even with you. You were there like, I don't know. I don't think about it. We're not really in tune like we should be. We don't have that awareness like we probably should have.
And I want to mention there really quickly, if you are not on Facebook, you could also, if you want to give feedback through podcast.2 girls in a pod at hotmail.com. You can send feedback there as well.
Awesome. We'll probably give you that again at the end of the thing. But once again, really doing that. And, as I'm sitting here looking at my pie, for me, family and friends takes up a little bit more space. You're right, because it's really important for me. But it still has to be within balance, because if I'm focusing all on family and friends, that means something else is lacking. And, over here I had work, and I don't know, maybe I'll have to lower that down. And the reason I say that is because, and we talked a little bit about that this morning, I really got to get back in the groove of things. I'm in the middle of writing a book, so I'm trying to get to go along with my coaching. So I've really been working on that. And so I need to get back into that. I need to really, for me, I have to say, okay, I need to set that time up. That is something that's valuable and it's being neglected.
Right. And I think organization is a huge factor. I know it is for me, and I struggle with it a lot. But I think that doing an exercise like this is a really good idea to at least gauge where you're at, see which areas are lacking. And I mean, you may have in your mind, that you want to spend some more time on a certain aspect of your life, but that it's kind of been on the back burner. But if you actually draw something like this out and you're looking at it, it really does, I think, help you to start to get that organization, to be able to know where you need to devote a little more time to and where you can cut back on something else.
And mine was really kind of hard on my self-care health, because there are some things I do really well. Like I really try to do our meal planning, and we do our best at eating healthy. We do all that kind of stuff. We've had family and friends and stuff like that. So we've been kind of going out more and stuff like that. So we've learned a lot of different things, but we get right back on task with that. On the other hand, I know where I'm lacking right now is my workout. And so I start to think, oh my goodness. And Wednesdays are a day I really can't work out. I could possibly, but I'm in the office on that day seeing clients in person. So I'm not at home. Whereas when I'm at home in between clients, I can do arm workouts. I can do different stuff. And I just haven't really been doing that. And part of the thing is too, now, sometimes in between workouts, I'm going and playing with the puppy. So, I get that. And so I understand those things. But the thing is that I know in order for me to have that overall self-care and health, I have to figure out, how do I implement that working out again? So that was a good thing for me to look at that and say, that's something that I really need to figure out once again. There's some parts of it that's organizational, and then there's some parts that's prioritizing.
Yes.
And those two things kind of go hand in hand, because I have to prioritize in order to organize. I have to know what I have to do, and then I can organize it.
Well, because it helps you look at where you want to spend more time versus another aspect. And it's finding that balance. Not that there's not any flexibility, because there has to be. I mean, things happen in life that you may not be able to give as much attention to one thing versus another at certain times.
Absolutely. And understanding these lines are going to move. These percentages are going to move according to what's going on in your life. But it's being aware so you can identify what feelings are coming when we're not doing those things, that overall wellness for us. Mm-hmm. That's what we're looking at. How do you identify? I'm feeling out of sorts. I'm more irritable. Whatever that is, that's really important to look at.
I know that really happens to me if I know that in the back of my mind that there's something that needs to get done, but it's been on the back burner and I'm giving more focus to other stuff. It's still hanging back there, and I know it needs to get done. So I'm constantly going through that cycle of beating myself up, but yet still putting it off because I'm giving focus to other things. So it really helps you, I think, to identify that.
Well, and I think, and we'll talk about that sometimes, because you're right. You'll have certain things in your head, and I'll be there like, did we get this done? And you'll be there like, no, but it's because your focus has been on something else. And what's my focus is what I need at this moment. And her focus is what she's doing behind the scenes with the business, whereas I'm doing it with the clients. And so that becomes my main focus. So even in that, we have to find a balance, and like you said, yours is organizational. You're organized in so many things, which is really interesting because you'll have organization in other things. It's like if you have a project, the perfect example is when we used to plan trips, your organization to it. Oh my goodness. She would set up time. She'd get everything. She'd look through it, everything. And it's all boom, 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 boom.
I'm not really sure what happened as far as that goes, because I started taking a hands-off approach and you started planning a lot of vacations and things like that, because I don't know. I just was like, I don't know. I was just thrown completely off my regular way of doing it, my itinerary, and I just was handing it over. So I feel like that's kind of happened in a lot of areas too. It's not just something like that, but I just don't feel like I have the organizational skills that I should.
And then once again, I think when you do this pie, it really gives you that visual where you can sit there and say, oh my goodness, who knew?
Yeah, I mean, being able to identify it helps you to at least gain some direction in to where you should go.
Absolutely. I feel like our spiritual is something that we work on a daily. We're very much involved in that through our mindfulness, through our meditation, through stretching, yoga. When you do that, that's the area once again I said I'm going to work on.
Yeah, I try to do the stretching every day, and I think that you're right. The mindfulness in that is a part of the spirituality in that, and doing the meditation. I do feel like that I would like to devote a little more time to it. There's a lot of reads out there that I would like to focus on and haven't. That's an area that I feel like I would like to expand.
And I think, when we're talking about that, wellness I think it's reading things, it's learning more about, and it can be on any of these things, particularly with the self-care and the health. We spend a lot of time reading. I do trainings on what we eat and what we're ingesting and how that impacts mental health. And so I have background in that, and also, just nutrition and things like that, and why those things are important for us overall. Because we're not just talking about, when we're talking about that self-care and that health, we're not just talking about the physical health, but we're really talking about even that spiritual health, that emotional health that's really important. How do we balance that out? Because it is so vital to us being happy. When we have a grasp of this, we tend to be more healthy as humans, but when there's too much discrepancy with these 5 areas, and you can add more areas too, other people have different areas, you can do that. These are just the 5 that I work with, because these are usually the 5 that are more impacted, or that people talk about the impact with them.
Yeah.
We're very good. We do our gratitude statements in the morning. We do them at night, throughout the day. We do different things like that, which is very much a part of our spiritual thing. And really appreciating nature is really big for us.
I know that was one thing I was going to mention, to me, doing the gratitude statements, and we actually do those together. It almost feels like a state of being in prayer. It's kind of that same feeling. I don't know how others would view it, but I know that the sense and the peace that I get by spending that time in gratitude, I feel like that really feeds my soul.
Absolutely. And, and we are a couple who we pray before every meal. And if people are around us, they can participate, or they don't have to. We don't force that on anybody. That's just something we have done from the beginning of our relationship.
Yeah.
So I think it's just whatever that is. So that's why I think with our spirituality, we do pretty good. We talk about that a lot. We read books on it. We educate ourselves. So for me, I feel like that is one of the areas that we do pretty well on.
Yeah.
Because we do that daily. We don't skip a day of that.
No, I really feel like it feeds my soul to do that. I feel like that I have to replenish in that way.
Mm-hmm. Our leisure fun, I think that sometimes we could do that a little bit better, because sometimes we get, even on the weekend, instead of maybe going for a drive and going and exploring something, we'll use that time to shop or things like that.
And granted, you have to take some time to get done the things that have to get done. But yeah, to me, that's not a leisurely, fun kind of thing. I mean, grocery shopping is my least favorite thing to do. So,
Well, and I think the other thing is too, is, we've started our hiking again, and we really want to get back into that because in a month we'll be at Antelope Canyon with our friend Kathy G. So we're really excited about that. But so we've taken the puppy out on 2 hikes and 3. She's done amazing.
yeah.
She wants to walk. She wants to be where she can move around and do all that. And, but we have to be careful. There's rattlesnakes and stuff here.
And since she's only 1.5 pounds, it doesn't take long on those little legs.
No, she's done.
Wear her out.
So, but that's part of our spirituality as well, I think, is when we get out there and we're hiking and just being in nature and just the feel of it.
Yeah, just the calm, just that disconnecting from everything else and just being there and enjoying that moment. Yeah, has a profound effect.
Really, really important. And everybody's spirituality is different.
Yeah.
Whatever that spirituality is, whether it's church or being in nature, it doesn't matter. Whatever you view as that spirituality, that's what's important. And what is that thing that is feeding that soul, feeding your energy, replenishing you?
Bringing you peace.
Absolutely. That is so, so important. And so our leisure fun is still part of the hiking, and that is still part of our self-care and health. But it also even goes into it's fun for us and it is spiritual. So some of those things can be part of, if family and friends, if we take them hiking, then that becomes a part of 3 different areas or whatever that is. So they overlap sometimes. Work for me is one of those things that's kind of interesting because I'm barely getting to a place in my life, I think, where I've always worked really hard and really long hours and things like that. And I'm barely now coming into putting those things in perspective, don't you think?
Definitely. And I think with work, one of the hardest things is for people to really look at their worth and what they putting in and how much it's worth. I think that people struggle with that. And it's because of how things have been set up so long in our society, and that I feel like that people have been taken advantage of a lot of the time in the workplace and maybe not paid what they should be paid or those kinds of things. So yeah, I think that work is a big one, and that people really need to look at that. And like I say, about their worth and that.
Well, and I think that, we talked with some friends of ours about that. And, when you see that frustration in them, and when you see them working really hard and sometimes barely getting by.
Right.
Once again, it's then what you have to do in order to make it happen, you have to work more. So now your work starts to take up such a much bigger part of that pie.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh crap, this is for people who are working, but we have people who have retired. But even on that, instead you would put like retired. So it would be like, what is going to fill that piece of the pie, so to speak? Yeah. So when you do stuff like that, it's just really a matter of saying, I know I want this, but work, oftentimes when I've done this with clients, work is like a huge percentage of their pie. And they wonder why they're tired. They wonder why their spouses, their kids are not happy. There's no time for things. There's no time for vacation. There's no time for even going to the movies, whatever that is. And then so once again, that's why we have to, when we look at this, sitting and it's so disproportionate, how do I make that? What can I actively do in order to make that a little bit more balanced? Because when we're out of balance, we feel it. And believe it or not, other people around us will sense it. They don't know what it is.
It impacts your mood because you feel out of sync. It's like I said, the thing that's been put on the back burner and it's lingering over your head. It's there, those kinds of things. So when you actually sit down and look at something like this, I think it's very helpful.
And we were talking about that. I said, this weekend really have got to take time to where I really spend a couple of hours minimum writing, and then we have to set up some stuff with our website and get the coaching piece in place. And we kind of put that on the back burner, and it's really something that we probably should do It's kind of like you have a foot half in and half out. And I think that's where that thing is, that it just kind of sits on the back. Then asking yourself, why do I procrastinate about certain things?
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and you'll find that even with your pie, sometimes the things that sometimes take the biggest piece are because it's procrastination, or they take a little piece because you're not doing them. So it's kind of one of those things that could be one or the other. So
Yeah. And if you find there's many things that you're procrastinating on, just remember taking it in those little steps will help you to eventually reach your goal. And they feel like huge accomplishments when you just take those first steps.
it's those first steps. It's always baby steps lead to progress.
Right.
And baby steps, consistent baby steps, really lead to progress. And even when you look at this pie, when I look at the working out thing, I can't sit there and say, okay, well, I'm going to do this for 2 hours, because I'm not going to. I get distracted by things. I will start making breakfast. I'll go play with the puppy. I'll go do this. I'll go
Take
do
out
that.
the trash, water the plants, something.
Yes. So for me, I know that if I sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes, I know I will allow that 15 minutes. So that's what I'm saying. Figure that out. Whereas you're the opposite. I'll say, what are you going to do? Work out. And then I'll be like, what are you doing? Working out. And they're like, what are you doing?
Working out.
And I'm there like, consolidate it, do something. Because once again, what happens is, even in her workout, if she would just go do her workout and be done with it, but she won't. She'll do her workout, then she might go do some billing, then she'll go do this, and then she'll go do that. And I tell her, set that time, because then she goes, and this is her thing, she'll put it on the back burner.
Which part?
Well, not the working out part. Let's be clear about this, shall we?
I have a problem with time management.
Oh, yeah, we already, organization and time management. But organization and time management go together.
And procrastination. They work well together.
Oh my goodness, let's just have a little session right here, shall we? No. But that's a good thing. But you identify it. You're not one who sit there and says, no, that's not it. You talk about this, and it's frustrating for you.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of joking about it now, but it's a very frustrating thing for you.
Yeah.
Because you don't like the fact that stuff sits in the back. You don't like that when you see me walking up, uh-oh.
She's going to ask me, what have you been doing?
I'll say, well, what was the response to that text? Oh, I forgot to send it. Or email or whatever. They're like, girl, Tuesday through Friday, we are at work.
Yeah.
But I will say this. You are so exceptional when it comes to texting our clients and doing appointments and doing my schedule. And all the clients really love and appreciate that. They're always, some send you mute songs, some send you emojis, some send you, I don't even know what they send her.
Yeah. Get gifts and things like that. I enjoy the communication, and I try to be effective as I can with it.
But I think the thing is that because you know how important that is to the business, so you do prioritize. So in our business, that is like a number one priority.
Mm-hmm.
So that part you do really well, except the other day, was it Monday? We're bebopping around doing stuff, not paying attention. Then she goes, oh my God, I didn't even send any reminders.
Yeah. Well, that happens sometimes, so, on a weekend.
Yeah, but that's because, we'll have appointments and stuff like that. So we'll just go get all of our appointments done and do all that. And then she'll go, oh my God, I didn't send the reminders. And trust me, if we don't, I will have those few clients who will text and say, are we still on for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Those that have set appointments.
Thank goodness they do that, because then sometimes they remind me and I'm like, whoops, I haven't done that yet. So, yeah.
So, but once again, you've been able to identify those things. What have you done to help with that? She's making a face at me.
Well, I try to set a start time.
What is try?
An effort that sometimes fails.
No, try is not an action.
Yeah. I do look at when I can set up certain times to do stuff. It's just that I multitask, and then I get thrown off my schedule.
Okay, look, if I multitask in that, her and my colleagues call me ADHD. When she does it ain't ADHD, I'm just off task. I'm multitasking.
Yes.
How does that sound right for y'all? I don't think so.
I think it sounds right.
No, but it is something that you struggle with.
Yeah.
And it is even sometimes something you don't like to talk about.
Yeah. I just like to do what I do.
She wants to be her own boss.
Yeah.
See what we have to put up with here, people? I tell you. But that's what I'm saying. I think that really identifying, and like I said, I know my weakness is not my weakness, it's that thing of my working out, fitting it in. I was doing really, 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 really exceptionally good about that. And then, life happens. Summer comes, and for us, winter's easy for us for working out and stuff because we don't socialize very much. It's cold. We don't like the cold, really. We stay at home, we work out, we do our stuff. And then summer comes and we love to hang out with friends. All of those things.
Not that we don't like to hang out with our friends in the winter. We just don't go as often, I guess, just because weather and that.
Yeah. So, shifting that mindset. And because I'm thinking, why are we off? And then I told her this morning, I said, when summer comes, we hang out with friends more. We kind of do different stuff that's not part of our workout or things like that. And so I think that's kind of the big thing is how do I identify, if I can identify it, then what can I do to change it?
Yeah. And I think that people, a lot of times they have good intention about changing things, but we also have to learn to identify our excuses that we make.
Ooh, what a good one. I
know. I don't like that part, but it's true because I think that, we've talked a lot about devoting certain amount of time to different things on the weekend, and then the weekend will pass and a lot of those things didn't get done. And it's, it's like I said, it's being able to identify those excuses that you make.
And sometimes I'm the first 2 minutes. Sometimes that's me. And it depends on my work week. If my work week's not too bad, then I have a lot more energy on the weekend. If I have a lot of stuff going on during my work week and I'm, like I tell my clients, I'm not just in front of you for an hour and then I forget you after that. Sometimes I'm really doing behind the scenes stuff of whether it's helping them to get the benefits they need, or if it's identifying, we don't quite have a diagnostic, or researching a diagnostic more, or just whatever it is.
Or coming up with ways to help them problem solve and things like that. I know that you go through those things in your mind.
So, and if I have a lot of that, then I'm a little more emotionally tired at the end of the week, and I'm just like, oh God, just no, don't want to think, don't want to talk, don't want.
And being able to identify that and planning that that's what the time is going to be spent doing. You just need that downtime because that's about self-care as well. So, I mean, there are times where that it's warranted to be able to do that.
Yeah, you just don't want to make it a habit.
Exactly.
And I think that's the biggest thing is not making things that are detrimental to you a habit.
Yeah, because it becomes critical at some point where that you're just not getting anything done. But in a huge piece, and I know I struggle with this too, is being proactive about something. One of the examples is like you were saying about, we take because we're off on Mondays, we take a Monday and you plan out the week as far as meal prep and things like that. That makes a huge difference in how the week goes with, our eating and things like that. When you're planning ahead like that, you're more likely to stay on task throughout the week.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that kind of is important to me. And every once in a while I'll slide on that, but I try to, I do my best to stay up on that and making sure that I do that meal prep so we have an idea. And some of the stuff and now that I get to work from home, it's kind of nice because I can tell, put the oven, I'll just say, okay, just so you know, though, the other day I told her, I said, you need to put the oven on at this time. And then you put the chicken in. And then by the time I come home from work, the chicken's going to be pretty close to ready. And then I'll finish up the rest, the veggies and stuff. I get home and I'm thinking, this ain't right.
There's more time left on here than there should be. Well, okay. It didn't get put in exactly when you said, but it did get put in.
Mm-hmm. Because you were what?
I don't know.
Probably working out.
Probably.
I'm just saying.
Priorities.
And that's kind of the other thing that's kind of interesting in relationships is one's priority may not be the other's priority.
Yeah.
And I think that's why these pies are kind of interesting. If you're a couple or a family, you can, even kids can do them or whatever. You can all do them. And then you can look at it and you can see how those priorities are a little bit different for everybody. Where might you want to match them up a little bit more or not understanding? So I might sit here and think, oh man, I do a lot of really great family time. And Christy may look and say, man, I don't really see you that much or whatever. I don't think we have that.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, the other family members may have a very different perception of what your pie should look like. They may look at that and say, no, you don't spend that much time on family. You spend this much time on work.
Exactly. Because once again, it helps us to put what is our perception and what is the perception of those people around us. Because you're right. Sometimes they don't match up.
Well, and it's good to know that. It kind of helps you map some things out, and then you understand where maybe somebody else in the family is coming from because they see you spending all your time doing this and you don't think so. So
absolutely. But our leisure and fun, we really do our best to do that. We're ones to vacation about once every 3 months or so, and we haven't been doing that. So we've been a little bit off on that. And I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can really tell that it's not where it needs to be.
Well, the last 2 years, our schedule for traveling was just all messed up anyway due to COVID and things like that, which I'm sure, that impacted a lot of people and what they normally do.
And the cool thing about leisure and fun, we said about going on this trip with Kathy G to Antelope Canyon, and this will be our third trip with her.
Yeah.
Fourth, because we did Yellowstone with her, which was an amazing trip with her. Just really, really enjoyed that. We did Lake Havasu, and then we went down to the valley and did Los Ventanas and just hung out back from where I'm from. And now we'll be doing this one. So we have four with her, which, when you get, we do it really well, I feel like. And then the other thing is, and then our other friend that we hang out with and travel with, of course, is Sandra. So we can combine the travel with that, and we do that. And we love traveling with Sandra. We've been to Mexico with her a few times. And then, of course, we did our Europe trip with her. And that is really important to us to have those things. And you find those people, and that also they have to have the time to do it and stuff like that, which I think is really, really important. So leisure and fun can incorporate family and friends. It can incorporate working out, because your leisure and fun may be going on a 20-mile bike ride. I don't know how that would be leisure and fun, but for some people it is. I'm not one to judge. So I think that's what we're saying, is that there are some of those things that are going to overlap, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But being able to identify when it's an overlap. But if I'm doing all leisure and fun too, once again, that means even if it's something that feels good in those moments, it does not mean that it is not something that could be a detriment as well. So it's being able to balance that, which is really, really important. And just so you know, because we do this, the puppy has woke up, so now she thinks it's playtime. So we had to get rid of all of her toys that make noise. Otherwise, all you're going to hear is those toys,
rattles
those
and
rattles
rappers.
and rapper sound. And so she's not happy about that. But I think she'll live. Those things are important. Being able to identify it. So the biggest thing is once again, make that pie using those 5 things. Look at it. Have your family do it too with you if you want. Then look at them and see, because this way you get a better perception, not only of what you are seeing, but what they're seeing, and if it matches up or it doesn't. Because I know when Christy was looking at my pie, what did you say? Do you think it's that balanced?
Yeah, I'm like, that looks all pretty equal. I don't know about that.
It's because she didn't see my workout one.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was slightly smaller than the rest.
Slightly. My family and friends is bigger. Mm-hmm. My work, leisure, and spiritual, they're pretty equal. But my working out is way smaller. Mm-hmm. So now let me ask you, as we've talked about this, and if you're using my pie, how would you say yours is?
Apparently my working out section would be much bigger than yours.
Yeah, it would be like half the pie.
Well, exactly. But Not that I really get to put it like that. It's just that's how it would look to you, or how I would like it to look.
But that's a good point, because for me, even though she is seeing her workout as, well, not enough, I sometimes see it as it's too much, because if I feel like something else is lacking. And once again, listen to what I said, when I feel like something else is lacking. Because once again, it's my priority that we're talking about. And so for you, what about work?
You would probably say that that's
I said,
my
what is yours?
smallest section.
No, I said, what would
I
you?
think that probably would be my smallest section. But however, that's how I would want it to be. So my pie is not as messed up as you think it is.
So what I'm hearing is you want to work less.
Well, no more than I do.
I don't know. My sister already thinks I don't work at all. I don't understand that, just because I just work later in the day to later at night. But yeah, once again, it's those things of her perception and my perception are different. But is one wrong and one's right? Absolutely not. They're both as equally as important and as real. So, but paying attention to that and making sure that you're not leaving out those things that are really important. One of the areas oftentimes people will tell me about also is their spirituality. Well, I don't even know what that is. Or, well, I don't think I'm spiritual. Well, you can call it something else. It's just something that takes care of that piece of you that's not your physical or your mental. It's and once again, I have a client who his whole thing is he's Native American, and his thing is going out and being in nature, fishing, all of those things that fills up his spiritual cup. So even being out in nature, anything like that, it could be art. For some people is very spiritual. Music can be spiritual. I think for you and us, for me, that's something that is a lot.
Music is a part, I feel like, of most of my pie. So if I'm working out, I'm listening to music. If it's fun and leisure, there's usually music,
Even at work.
Even while I'm working. So yeah.
And sometimes even with family and friends.
Right.
When we're talking about that, it's not putting a definition, because everybody's definition is going to be different, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be the same. What we're saying is pay attention, identify, look at it, and then decide what you can do now once it becomes a part of your awareness. Decide, am I okay with the way things are, or do I really feel like something has to change? That's what's important. Because if you look at it and your pie is half work and you're okay with it, go for it, man. But I will tell you that most times that is not the case, because what happens is when we don't have that balance, there is still something that is suffering.
There's something we feel like is lacking in another area.
And whether we realize it or not, maybe, you might feel like, oh, wow, work is really filling you up. But if you're a parent or a spouse, those people may not feel that. They may really have a hard time with that, because they don't feel like you're doing the family piece the way that you should. So once again, really looking at that and having this is a good conversation piece too, to have that conversation about what does that look like? Why are these things important for how we balance our lives? And at the end of the day, it's being healthy and being happy, because everybody deserves to be healthy and everybody deserves to be happy, regardless of what you've been told in the past. That is not the reality of it. Healthy and happy, really important. And Christy's now a little preoccupied with the puppy. So if you hear that total silence going on, she's trying to get her to not chew on everything. And how's that going for you?
No, it's not working very well. She wants to chew on everything.
Yes.
Including me.
She's a puppy, and that's what they do. But even like that, that's been even hard for you, adding the puppy to the mix, because it's affected what?
My workout, my everything, even work, just because she takes precedence over everything. So bonding.
She is a busybody.
Yes.
Our last puppy was not like this. This one is a whole new experience for us. Or she was like this and we just forgot about it.
It's been a long time since we were puppy mamas.
Yeah, like 16 years.
Long time.
Yeah. So hence why it's a little bit more difficult. But anyway, we're going to ask you guys to do your pie. And remember, it's self-care/health, family/friends, work, spiritual, leisure, fun. Yeah. And then we would really love for you guys to share your results and what you learned from it. And you can do that on our Facebook and also...
Facebook, Two Girls in a Pod, Life's Journey and Everything in Between. Or you can just send an email to podcast.2girlsinapod@hotmail.com.
We really do look forward to hearing from you and kind of seeing what that looked like for you. And just kind of, if it helped, if you realize something new that you didn't know, all of those things I think would, we're just really interested in and would really love to hear from you about that. And as always, thank you so much for listening. And we're so grateful for the support that we get from our listeners.
Yes, thank you. And we hope you have a wonderful week.
Yes, and we will be back next week, and we look forward to seeing the responses, and we may touch base on them if we get the responses by that time. And other than that, you guys have a great week. Be kind to yourselves, and we'll talk with you soon. Bye.
Bye.